So this is amazing and breaking news. Former Trump and Rudy Giuliani associate, Ukrainian American Lev Parnas, is on Capitol Hill today testing in the Biden impeachment inquiry about his role in finding dirt on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden to try and swing the 2020 election. And his testimony is absolutely damning for Republicans. We're going to show you the entire opening testimony as well as key moments that are frankly shocking. Now, if you recall, Parnas was at the center of the Trump-Ukraine scandal, and in 2018 was dispatched by Rudy Giuliani to find information that could hurt the Biden campaign. Their mission was literally to find people and information that could be used to undermine the special counsel's investigation and also damage then candidate Joe Biden. He not only set up the now infamous phone call between former President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky, but he was also recorded as saying that they needed to replace the Ukrainian ambassador because she was insufficiently loyal to Trump. Then he was arrested in 2019 for planning to direct funds from a foreign government to American politicians in an attempt to affect U.S.-Ukraine relations. He then was convicted in March 2022 of fraud and campaign finance violations, but flipped on Trump and his minions and basically spilled the beans on the whole plot and cooperated fully with investigators. Here's his full opening statement.
From shortly after my arrest on October 9, 2019 to now, I have been trying to share the irrefutable truth with you. The American people have been lied to by Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and various cohorts of individuals in government and media positions. They created falsehoods to serve their own interests, knowing it would undermine the strength of our nation. From November 2018 to October 2019, I was a key participant and a witness to numerous efforts to prove that Joe and Hunter Biden were linked to corruption in Ukraine. Rudy Giuliani, on behalf of then President Donald Trump, tasked me with a mission to travel the globe, finding dirt on the Bidens so that an array of networks could spread misinformation about them, thus securing the 2020 election for Donald J. Trump. Ironically, when I was arrested, my original indictment linked me to an individual referred to as unindicted co-conspirator 1. We now know this individual to be Congressman Pete Sessions, who sits on this very committee today. Today, I ask you to consider the following. In nearly a year traveling the world and interviewing officials in different countries, I found precisely zero evidence of the Biden's corruption in Ukraine. No credible source has ever provided proof of criminal activity, not the FBI, CIA, nor the NSA. No respectable Ukrainian official has ever said that the Bidens did anything illegal, including former President Poroshenko and former Prosecutor General Yuri Lutsenko. Even when CEO of Burisma, Mykola Zlochevsky, was offered a deal by Rudy Giuliani in exchange for information on the Bidens, he provided none, because there is none. The only information ever pushed on the Bidens in Ukraine has come from one source, and one source only: Russia and Russian agents. The impeachment proceedings that bring us here now are predicated on false information spread by the Kremlin. Everyone involved knew they were sharing lies. From Trump and Giuliani's shadow diplomacy, through my missions to Ukraine and elsewhere, to members of a BLT team, a group convened for the sole purpose of investigating and damaging the Bidens. Everything was for the ultimate benefit of Donald Trump and thereby Vladimir Putin. Because the team's investigations were centered around Biden and Ukraine, I was designated the point person in every matter they pursued. That is how I know with certainty that these Biden stories are untrue then and are untrue now. Congressman Pete Sessions, then Congressman Devin Nunes, Senator Ron Johnson, and many others understood they were pushing a false narrative. The same goes for John Solomon, Sean Hannity, and media personnel, particularly at Fox News, who used this narrative to manipulate the public ahead of the 2020 elections. Sadly, they are still doing this today as we approach the 2024 elections. We cannot separate this conspiracy from the Russian-Ukraine war because Trump has no intention to keep aiding Ukraine. Without the support of the United States and NATO, millions in Ukraine will suffer and die. If we allow Russia to defeat Ukraine, eventually that suffering will reach American shores. Today, I admit my own wrongdoings. I have been a convicted federal election campaign and fraud crimes and served my sentence. I do not hide that from reality. It is part of my truth. Despite rigorous attempts by those in power to silence me, I will be silenced no longer. Thank you to the committee for allowing me to speak. I look forward to answering any and all of your questions.
So we're going to show you a couple more really important segments from his testimony in just a second. But first, let's just make this clear. This whole Russian collusion is a hoax line that Republicans put forward has proven to be complete crap. And that's straight from the mouth of an inside source who is telling us under oath what happened. He went around the world searching for dirt on Joe Biden, couldn't find any, and was instructed by Giuliani to do so. And he says very clearly the only information that was used to try and incriminate Biden were supplied by Russia and Russian agents, which corroborates the information we got a few weeks ago about Alexander Smirnov, the witness who gave Republicans everything they thought they needed to impeach Biden, which turned out to all be a lie supplied by Russian intelligence. Now, Parnas goes further, saying that Fox, Hannity, Trump, and members of Congress knew all the information was fake, but still went ahead with using it to try and damage President Biden anyway. Now, here's what he had to say about Giuliani interfering in Ukrainian politics.
You observed back in 2023 in a letter you sent to Chairman Comer that there were flagrant examples of Giuliani interfering in Ukrainian politics, unquote. Why would Giuliani be interfering in another country's politics?
I mean, Giuliani would do and say whatever he needed for the purpose of getting the information he wanted to secure Donald Trump 2020 election. So just a prime example of one of the things he did, he had a close relationship with then a boxer, Vladimir Klitschko, who was then the mayor in Ukraine. When the new president came over, there was rumors about maybe him not staying in office as mayor of Ukraine. Klitschko flew to New York, met with Rudy Giuliani, and then on a meeting that we had with Andrei Yermak in Spain that was relevant, had to do with President Zelensky announcing an investigation into Joe and Hunter Biden. At that meeting, he also brought up the Klitschko situation and basically told Yermak that if Zelensky got rid of Klitschko, President Trump and the American people would be very upset about that because we love him and he needs to be in there.
So was Giuliani just doing this as a rogue on his own because he was a patriotic American who loved Donald Trump, or had somebody encouraged him to engage in this kind of political interference in another country?
I mean, I think he was encouraged by Donald Trump.
Personally?
Personally, yes.
That's your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. In your letter, you also said that Mr. Giuliani was to, quote, deliver a precise message in very strict words, unquote, with respect to the administration of the then newly installed president of Ukraine, President Zelensky. What did you understand a very strict message, or a message of very strict words, construed, and what was that message that you delivered that was in very strict words?
Yes, Congressman. He basically told me not to be nice, to be very stern, and relay the message that unless Zelensky announced an investigation into the Bidens by Monday, this was Sunday, that there would be no cooperation, no aid to Ukraine from the United States, and the Vice President Pence at the time that was scheduled to appear for the inauguration would not appear to the inauguration.
That would seem to corroborate that very famous and beautiful telephone conversation between President Trump then and President Zelensky, basically saying, but I need a favor, and hinting that there'd be withholding of military aid until that favor was delivered. Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. I was a part of setting up that phone call, that famous phone call that Trump had with Zelensky.
I think your testimony is very important, Mr. Parnas, and it's under oath.
Yes, sir.
I thank you.
So there's, under oath, Lev Parnas, an insider engaged with this conspiracy to find false information on Biden, testifying that it's his opinion that Trump instructed Giuliani to do all of this. This is clear evidence that the former president is not just an unwitting benefactor of Russia's interference in our elections, but rather is instructing his people to find this information. Now, here's what Lev said about why he's come forward and broke with Trump world and become a cooperating witness.
In my several years living through this extraordinary period of American history, I've tried to ask people like Michael Cohen and Cassidy Hutchinson. I've wondered about people like General Milley, General Kelly. Why did you break with all of the deceit and corruption and lies of Donald Trump? How did you get out of that culture?
I mean, it was very difficult. I actually had to hit a brick wall myself and get arrested, and to be able to get out of that cult. Because when you're in that cult, when you're around them, you have blinders on, and you're only able to see a certain amount of information. You're only able to hear the certain amount of information. You're not allowed to go out of the circle. And if you go outside of the circle, then you're not in the circle. So eventually, you brainwash yourself to believing certain things that are not true. When I was arrested and had some time to reflect and really understand what was going on, I started realizing, looking back and thinking back to moments in time of where I started thinking myself that this can't be true and we're doing something wrong.
Well, thank you for
Absolutely damning testimony from Trump and Giuliani associate Lev Parnas, who essentially lays out what the Trump campaign was doing, and they were operating like the mob, with Trump instructing his aides to find incriminating information on his political opponents, to use fake information if need be, and Republicans in Congress doing just that, using Russian intelligence to try and attack President Biden. Absolutely damning. We are going to keep covering these Biden impeachment hearings and bring you all the latest. So be sure to like, subscribe, and set notifications. With Really American, I'm Justin Horwitz. Thanks.